Sydney. Let's go to Gigi Foster from the University of New South Wales. She's an economics professor there. Good to talk to you again, Gigi. Look, with a budget less than a fortnight away, most of that would be better down now. But do you think with the election in the offing, after they didn't expect to have to deliver a budget, Labor will be putting even more spending into that program?
I suspect so. I mean, most of the policies that you just had there on the telly were about infrastructure or other kinds of group-related investments rather than the typical handouts to the consumer that governments, particularly Labor governments, like to give in order to prove that, they're on the side of the battlers. So what I expect in this budget is, as you say, they probably can't undo that infrastructure spending commitment suite, but they'll probably also try to get over the line some particularly energy-related extensions of subsidies, perhaps something on childcare expenditures, perhaps something on prescription drug costs, things like this that they can spin as essentially helping consumers with cost of living relief without really addressing structural problems in the economy or addressing the fact that the government itself sometimes is responsible for productivity sluggishness or lack of really robust growth. And so that really is an area that Australians are not used to hearing about because the government never admits it. But I think it's an area that they could profitably ask some questions about. Do we really need so many bureaucrats in Canberra, so many interventions into our marketplaces by the government?
Well, the government, Labor government, loves all those extra bureaucrats because they join the public sector unions and they tend to vote Labor. It's as simple as that. They sort of stock up their support. But tell us about energy. I'm certain they'll come up with another energy rebate, probably replicate it for another year, another $3.5 billion. But explain to me how it makes sense for government policies to drive up electricity prices and then borrow more money from a deficit budget, borrow more money to hand out to people to compensate for the prices they've forced up.
All of that in a country that, as you say very correctly, is one of the world leaders in producing and having natural resources. I mean, it is absolutely insane. And I think the reason this gets over the line and can be sold to people at all is because people in this country really have a low level of economic literacy. They do not understand the way in which markets work and the two-timing that they are being subjected to. And it's very interesting to see the rhetoric because, as you heard, the Labor government is basically describing now the most unreliable forms of energy as reliable. I think they've taken a leaf out of the playbook of the sane energy policy commentators who are saying, look, there's a problem with reliability. And as usual, there's just a reversal. It's this Orwellian reversal whereby terms start to mean nothing like what they used to mean. Reliable doesn't mean the same thing to me as it seems to mean to the energy minister.
Well, exactly. It is classically Orwellian. It's war is peace, ignorance is strength. To say that renewables are the cheapest and certainly to say renewables are reliable, it is literally insane. Yeah, that's the stuff that's coming out of their mouths. And many arms of the media just parrot that and think it's okay. I want to get your thoughts away from the politics of this, just the economics of it. What is the damage to Australia of the steel and aluminium tariff? And if that is not severe, what are the fears of broader tariffs, perhaps touching on some of our agricultural exports?
Yeah, so people are making a big deal about these tariffs on Australian steel and aluminium going to the U.S. But if you look at what fraction of our exports to the United States or our exports in general, those exports account for, it's quite small. Something like 10% of the maybe 11% of our total exports are going to the U.S. in the form of steel and aluminium. So it's not much. We export a lot of services, financial services, and of course, as you say, agricultural products like meat and other things that grow in our beautiful country. So that actually the impact I don't see as being severe, particularly because we have another obvious market for our steel and aluminium. And what's that? China, zero import tariff China. So as long as that keeps going, and of course, we've had some rockiness in the real estate sector in China in the last couple of years, and people were predicting quite a large tanking and continuing tanking. Doesn't seem to be quite as bad as some were predicting. So if that market continues to go, I mean, that is the market that is much more likely to impact Australia's quality of life than tariffs from the US.
Just stay there, because while we've been speaking, Anthony Albanese has been giving a media conference in Perth this afternoon, and we haven't been able to bring it to you live, but here's what he had to say about the latest increase in electricity prices.
The Australia is not separate from world movements, and what we've seen is substantial world movements in energy prices as a direct result of the long tail of COVID and supply chain issues, but also of the Russian invasion of Ukraine. That has seen enormous spikes.
Gigi Foster, he's blaming our electricity prices on global factors. Your assessment?
Australia has a get-out-of-jail-free card, which is that we're sitting on huge gas reserves. Why aren't we using them? That's it.
Yes, pretty straightforward question, and the answer is nobody knows. Thanks for joining us, Gigi. I appreciate it. Gigi Foster, the economics professor at the University of New South Wales.